Welcome to the Birding Life podcast. My name is Adam, and I'm your host on the podcast where we discover birds and the birders that pursue them. The Birding Life is proud to be associated with Swarovski Optic, one of the world's leading producers of binoculars, monoculars, and spotting scopes, as well as the Bird Lasser bird logging app. Spot, plot, play a part. Download and install the app to play your part in social conservation. The Birding Life is a lot more than just a podcast. It's a multi-platform resource to connect birders with each other, amazing locations, the best resources, and obviously where to find amazing birds. Head on over to our website www.thebirdinglife.com and be sure to sign up to our newsletter on the site so you do not miss out on any of the exciting things that are coming up. Be sure to follow this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it on, and please take some time to rate and comment on it. Can you believe that this is already episode 29? I'm so grateful for everyone that takes the time to listen to this podcast. Your support means a lot. As we head into snake season in Southern Africa, today we'll be chatting about snakes. How to stay safe when birding in areas where snakes are around, and a whole lot of great advice for the birder or nature lover. So without further ado, let's get the show started with a very special guest. Okay, so we're recording this in a car. So for those who listen, it's quite a weird thing. It's quite windy outside, recording this on the field in a car. Today's guest is well-known Durban snake guy, YouTuber, author, public speaker, podcaster, dog rescuer, and he has his own TV show. And on top of it all, he's one of the nicest people who meets. And I'm really proud today to introduce Nick Evans. So welcome to the Birding Life show.
Oh, thanks, Adam. Appreciate you having me on here. It's very cool.
Have you ever been interviewed in a car before?
No, not in a car. But I'm glad to be in the car. It's cold outside.
So here's a question. You love black mambas. Now, for most people, when they see a black mamba, they run as far as they can away. There's like this fear, that total fear that people have about black mambas. Is there anything that you're actually scared of?
Oh, I'm scared of people. Yeah, I'm very scared of people. But black mambas they're really misunderstood. They don't attack people. They don't chase people. Before I started catching black mambas, I was nervous of them. I caught other snakes, but that was like the one because they're bigger, faster, just more deadly, I guess. But the more I learnt about them when I worked at Ushaka, a guy Carl Schlums, he was my boss. He taught me how to work with them, and from that I learnt a lot, and I was more confident. Then when I started doing snake removals full time, I just wanted a mamba core, and eventually I got one, and I got a few more, and then I quickly learned that this snake isn't so evil and aggressive and dangerous, and people make them out to be really scary, but I've just found all they want to do is get away from you. Yeah. And
then birding is often seen as a little bit of a weird hobby.
Yes.
It's almost like that. You speak about in hushed terms. What are you? I'm a birder. But I think birding is a little bit easier to explain than herping, where you literally chase after snakes. I mean, most people want to get away from snakes, and herpers chase after snakes. Where did this love for snakes start, and how did this journey start?
So ever since I can remember, I was interested in wildlife, and then I started watching Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, and I just watched him with his passion and enthusiasm, and I thought, I want to be like that. So I started catching snakes in the garden, and we'd put adverts in the newsletter at my school for snake removals, and like after school my mum would drive me around to homes and catching snakes, and it just grew from there. Over time I got more interested in frogs as well. So like when I met my wife, I said to her, I like to go frogging, and a bit weird, So yeah.
And like birders, we all have life lists. Do herpers actually have life lists?
It's not a big thing. Some guys do, but I couldn't tell you what my list was on. I don't. Yeah.
And is there any snake that you like? Oh my word, I just want to see that snake.
Oh, there's a lot. There's a black spitting cobra on the west coast. There's the Fisk's house snake in Northern Cape. Yeah, there's a lot.
So I think what a lot of people think of snakes, it's I know growing up I was like really scared of snakes. I mean, a funny story. I told you the story. I used to live up in Mandini on the north coast in KZN, and there's a little game reserve outside. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's in Ngwenya Game Reserve or something. Anyway, and I went to the toilets, and I think there was like this python or something on top of the toilets. I actually ran for about 3 kilometers, and there's this real stigma attached to snakes. I mean, people are so scared of snakes. In South Africa, how many species of snakes are there, and then how many of those are actually venomous?
There's probably about 150, or there's about 170 in Southern Africa, and there's about 20 or so that will do serious damage. But I mean, like the majority of snakes people encounter generally, often harmless. Not generally, but often harmless. Like most of the calls I get around Durban are for harmless snakes. Yeah, but it depends on what area you go to. And then,
which is one snake that which is one snake that you wouldn't want to handle? That it's like it's a little bit scary.
Well, with puff adders, you generally don't need to grab them behind the head unless there's something wrong with them, or maybe it's stuck or something. But I have done it before, and I don't enjoy that. Or a gaboon adder, I wouldn't want to grab that snake behind the head. They're easy to deal with otherwise, but if you had to grab it behind the head, I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah. And then you married and that type of thing. How does your wife find the passion for snakes? I mean, I know you were into snakes before you got married.
Yeah.
How does she find this passion? Because I can imagine every time you go out, I mean, you let's be real, you're going as a snake catcher, snake rescuer, after black mambas and that. I mean, you're putting your life at risk every time you go out. I mean, how does she find this love of snakes that you have?
Well, she trusts me, like, not to get injured. But yeah, I mean, she's embraced it. Like, half our house has got snake cages, and like our weekend plans are always getting messed around by having to go catch snakes, or we go out looking for snakes, or she's embraced it. Yeah.
And then you've obviously done many snake rescues. I know you've got some really cool stuff online, but which, in your memory, would you say is the scariest snake rescue you've done?
Mambas and roofs are always challenging. You got to crawl around on the beams chasing them, and sometimes you get into such a tight space that those are probably the most dangerous situations. Also because you can fall through. Mambas and trees, those are also not that fun. Well, they're fun afterwards, but at the time you worry.
And then we spoke about this. I don't know. We don't want to go too much into it, but we were actually having a chat before about there's a lot of snake poaching and that kind of thing, and illegal trade of snakes and that. How serious is the problem in South Africa at the moment?
We've got a big problem with it at the moment. There's guys that will poach rare species, or they'll export species that aren't so rare, like banded rinkhouse. The banded rinkhouse, which we get in the Midlands, it's not a species, it's just a colour variation. That's very popular, and guys like to export those. Green mambas, they seem to like selling, and it does have an effect. The dwarf adders in the Cape, those are often poached. A lot of snakes. It's very frustrating. Anything rare just gets taken. Obviously not by everyone. There's just a few individuals. So it's like in the birding community, we share locations, and we can't really do that with snakes, and even and specific lizards. You can't do that. Yeah.
And in terms of cultural misconceptions in South Africa, I mean, I can imagine there must be, there's a lot of myths around snakes, and not just the fear, but there's literally myths around these snakes. How what are some of these misconceptions that people have? Because there are a lot of people that listen to the show from overseas, and what kind of misconceptions do you have to deal with? And how do you deal with that on a practical level? Because I know you do a lot of education around snakes and that kind of thing.
There are many different myths and beliefs in all cultures all over the world. I work a lot with Zulu communities here, and I've learnt about some of the myths. A lot of them I've learnt are stories made up by like elders to scare the children so they don't go and mess around with snakes. They're trying to protect the children. So they'll tell them, like, if you make eye contact with the snake, it will kill you.
Sure.
So there's a lot like that. There's a lot of misunderstandings. I mean, there's a story of a snake with 7 heads. Unfortunately, a picture goes around on social media of a king cobra with 7 heads, which is obviously photoshopped, but a lot of people see it and think it's real. That's why education is really important. It's good to help people understand what's true and what's not true.
So if you already see a seven-headed snake, you'd like to see it.
Well, I had a phone call once for it, but it was like Friday night. I think she'd been drinking.
So you spoke about this earlier, that I asked you what he's scared. We spoke about the people fact. I think your name is very well known. I mean, you've got a podcast that you do with East Coast Radio. You've got a YouTube channel. You're quite a social media sensation. You've got a TV show and all these things. You're very well known, not just in KZN where we're from, but probably around the country. Just on a personal note, how have you managed the fame that comes with this? Because, I mean, everyone I can go to someone who knows nothing about conservation or snakes, and everyone knows who Nick Evans is. And, and it's almost like you're this quiet person, probably an introvert. How do you deal with the fame that comes with your public profile?
I don't know. I mean, it's not just trying to stay humble, I guess. I don't like arrogant people, and people tend to get arrogant when they get well known. And I don't know. I'll just try and stay humble and carry on.
But what is actually the thing, like on a personal? I know this is a conservation. What is the thing that you would say that keeps you grounded? Because something I've noticed with you, and we had you at a conservation festival about 3 years ago, and I've got to know you over the journey. And one thing that I've really been impressed with you is that you've never changed. You've never. There's so many people that you meet them 2 years ago, and man, this person's awesome. 3 years later, they get 10 likes on their Facebook account. Almost all of a sudden, they think that the sun shines out their backsides. What is the thing that has kept you humble? What keeps you grounded?
I was just raised like that. My grandpa was very, I don't know, he always kept me grounded, I guess. And I don't like those people, so I didn't want to be like that. And I always try not to be like that. So
And then besides chasing after snakes, and what other hobbies do you do? I know we're going to chat about the fact that you're a birder in a while. But what other hobbies do you have besides natural stuff? What else do you enjoy doing?
Not much else. I like going looking for frogs or going to the game reserve. That's about it. I like being in the bush. Yeah.
And something that I always laugh at, I always ask you about this. Do you ever actually wear shoes on a snake rescue? I mean, every time it's like, I know it's like the comment's going to come somewhere in the comments, Nick, why don't you bring shoes?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll wear, like, I've got boots. I've got 2 pairs of safety boots, and I'll wear them if I've got time. But often, like, I'm outside in the garden or something, or I'm in the shops, and I get a call for a mamba, and it's like I need to be there urgently. It's an emergency, so I just run out. I kick my slops on, and then I go. So it's not that I choose not to wear boots. Really, it's just the rush. But slops, I mean, they allow for agility, and I mean, also in Durban it's hot, so like you don't want boots on all day.
No, I'm saying in KZN, I think if you wear closed shoes, there's something wrong with you. Yeah. You need some help. Yeah. So I spoke about the fact that you're also a birder. How did birding start? And that was a little bit more of a recent hobby.
And I only started birding, I think, like 2015 maybe. Actually, a whole lot of friends of mine went to look for the Eurasian bittern and stanger, which I think Junior saw. And I thought, I'll go with just to see what it's like. And that experience, actually, I was hooked after that. Seeing all the different birds and learning about them. I mean, I was always interested in birds, but it was more birds in the garden, or if we go to the game reserve, and not every single bird we'd stop for, But now it's like every bird. And the birding bug bit me quickly. And no, it's a lot of fun.
It's quite dangerous. I mean, I know some people listen to this podcast might not be birders. But, I think I've always said to people, be careful about trying it out, because it's one of those things that it makes absolutely no sense. For those older folk listening, just excuse what I'm about to say right now, but, it's almost like you have this perception in your mind about a bunch of old fogies sitting in khaki clothes. I think you do wear khaki clothes.
I do wear khaki clothes, but...
And just being quiet for like the whole day, and it's like, it just makes no sense. And you try it out, and it's like this, it's like an adrenaline rush. I mean, we were talking about the African emerald cuckoo I got to see this weekend, and it's like, seeing a rare bird is like insane.
Hi, my name is Chris, and I'm the host of the brand new Birding Life Youth Podcast, the show where we dive into the minds of the young birders in our world and find out what makes them tick. We will be launching this Saturday at 6 p.m. South African Standard Time, and I am excited to announce that my first guest is Daniel Engelbrecht. We will be having a good chat about some embarrassing moments as well as many other topics related to birds. So I want to encourage you to please listen to this podcast.
You've obviously, having you on social media and that type of thing, I've seen you've done quite a few cool twitches. You've gone to chase some really cool birds. What has been the, you spoke now about the Eurasian bittern, but what has been the most exciting? What has been that twitch that just stands out in your mind?
The golden pipit in Itala up in northern KZN. That was cool. That was like my first proper one. Left Durban, I think 1 a.m, met up with Ian Gordon, and we went together, and it was like driving the gate, and it's right there. So that was cool, and it's a beautiful bird, stunning. Also is it the frigate bird or frigate?
Frigate bird.
Frigate. Yeah.
I think I'm saying it right. I hope you're saying it right.
Yeah. So the frigate bird was cool. Also, just watching its behavior, it was just such an amazing and weird bird. But yeah, those two are the standout ones.
It's unusual just talking about the frigate bird. It's kind of interesting how there's all these bird names. I mean, if we got it wrong, someone's going to tell us. Just let you know that.
Yeah.
But what I thought was quite interesting having you on the show is, birders, obviously, we go into places where snakes are.
Yes.
And we're going into snakes' habitat, and we're sitting right near the Palmeet Nature Reserve, which I think is quite a few snake species here.
There's a lot.
Basically we're going to snake territory. Firstly, what do we do? What are some practical things if we come in contact with a snake? And I especially think of things, and I mean, one thing about getting to know you, I think my fear of snakes has gone away. I have a lot more respect for them. I remember I was telling you the story a while ago. We were up in Mtunzini and we saw a green mamba. And I mean, I told you the story about running 2 kilometers from another snake. The difference between actually getting to know you is when I saw it, I stopped, took photos of. There was a respect, and I wasn't stupid, but the fear wasn't there. But at the same time as saying that, one of the fears I do have is if I'm walking in the bush and I come across a black mamba, and again, it's probably a lot of the fear I have is related to stories that people have shared that are probably maybe a bit fictitious and stretching the truth in that. So, maybe thinking of a couple of species. You got puff adders and you get cobras and there's mambas, whatever. What should we do as birders or nature lovers if we come in contact? I mean, obviously, if something's on the side, it doesn't affect us. But if we come into contact, what on a practical level, what do we do?
Well, snake safety really, and I tell people like homeowners that it's fairly simple. Just move away slowly. Just leave it alone. Firstly, there's some guys, even people that go out in nature that kill snakes. You kill a snake, you're asking for trouble. But like for a birder who doesn't kill snakes, you're walking in the bush and you see a snake maybe 2-3 meters in front of you. Try to keep still, maybe, but I don't like saying that to people because most people don't keep still. But the best thing really is just move away slowly. If you're terrified of snakes, you just need to try and remember that it's not going to attack you. You feeling fear, it's also feeling fear. It's terrified, and I see that a lot with the snakes I catch. Like you can almost see the fear in their face almost. So I mean, yeah. if you can move away slowly, that'll be good, because slow movements don't freak the snake out. Fast movements freak them out. But in saying that, most of the time, like in the palm beach here, I've spent my childhood growing up in here looking for snakes, and usually the snakes I see here are disappearing. When a snake senses you coming, they move. You normally just see the tail end. So I've seen mambas in here, I just see the tail. Well, I've seen one or two in the trees, but yeah, generally they'll get out your way. But if you do see one, just move away from it, and like you mentioned, treat them with respect, and yeah, don't go close. You can take photos, enjoy the sighting, but just don't go too close.
Are you basically showing the snake, as I understand that you basically showing it that you're not a threat?
By moving away, you're showing the snake you're not a threat.
And when I was growing up, and I was told this by people, and there's people I've been told this many times. Every snake's cool, but there's one snake you got to watch for, black mambas. That thing's gonna chase you.
Yeah. No.
Do black mambas actually chase you? Are they people say they're super territorial. If you just put your toe into the territory, you're finished. I mean, do they? Is a black mamba going to chase you?
Well, I work with a lot in all kinds of different situations. Sometimes there's males fighting for a female. Sometimes there's a mating pair. They're in the roof. They're in the bush, or cornered somewhere in a house. I've never had one come at me. Never had a mamba chase me, attack me. I've had one or two turn around and try and strike because I've grabbed their tail or something. But I've never had one just look up and look me in the eyes and start chasing me or anything like that.
So if you see one, don't try to grab his tail, in other words.
No, don't. You probably won't be able to. They're so quick. But,
I actually remember one of the rescues you did, which actually took the fear of a little bit of the fear of mambas away. It was a house. I think it might have been in Newlands.
Okay.
And there was actually a black mamba under the bed. And I remember on the post you read them. These people were sleeping in the bed. It's quite a while ago. It's always stuck in my mind. And you almost spoke about this. I mean, this thing was just deadly. I mean, you just get in the bed, the thing would have taken you out. It's crazy. I mean, you've done hundreds of rescues. So
well, we get a lot in weird places like bedrooms, kitchens, all over. In the car, it always amazes me how mambas don't bite people. I mean, in Durban, we've got almost 4 million people. They do bite people, but this year so far, we know of one bite. In an area of almost 4 million people and lots of mambas, one bite. Last year, I think we had 2, and the one was a guy picking it up. So it just shows you they're not out to get people. It's really interesting. Yeah.
I think the interesting perspective. I think we spoke about the wagtail. When I still had the fear of snakes. I mean, if we walk through Palmeet or a place which is probably quite rich in snakes, you probably are coming within a couple of meters of a snake at least one time in that walk. And the fact that you're not getting taken out by a mamba, you're probably coming within close proximity of a mamba, and you're not being taken out by one. I mean, it just shows that, like you said, that they're not out to get you. I mean, I'm sure every birder, without realizing it, has been within a couple of meters of probably a deadly snake, and it hasn't taken them out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, like puff adders, it's maybe one you need to be a bit more wary of because they often don't move. But they also will often not bite even if you step next to them, because they just. I mean, I had a call for a puff adder recently where it was almost tucked under the grass in the lawn. And I reckon you would have stepped over that. I think the woman did step over it. She thought so too. Didn't bite. If they feel like really safe, then they most likely won't bite. But I mean, you never know. But you just got to watch your step.
And then on a practical level, I mean, I'm walking the bush almost every single week. What are some practical things that birders can do, or just nature lovers, if you're going to be out in the bush, to avoid getting bitten by snakes? I mean, I know we've spoken about what to do if you encounter a snake, but stuff like is there a certain way you should wear long pants rather than short pants? What are some practical things that you can do? I mean, to avoid getting bitten by a snake?
Well, wearing boots or closed shoes obviously does help, even though I don't do it. I feel very hypocritical. Wearing long pants will help. I don't wear long pants, but you probably should.
So do what you say, not what you do.
Yeah, I mean, those will help. Keep an eye on the path. I know this bird is looking up, but just keep an eye on the path now and then. Maybe if you're walking in bush where you can't really see in front of you, it's good to have a stick and just knock it around in front of you. If I'm walking in thick bush, I can't see. I like to have a stick in front of me just to try and, if there is something there, just move it out the way. And then, yeah, I mean, some people will come here like to Palm Meet and be terrified of snakes, and they don't want to go off that. There's a little concrete trail here, and they don't want to go off that because of the snakes. But we just need to try and remember, as I've mentioned, like, they don't want anything to do with us, so don't let them ruin your experience in the bush. Just enjoy it and don't worry too much about them.
And then if somebody does happen to get bitten by a snake in the bush, now I know, see, this is the challenge I've always had with this. Everyone says, no, identify the snake and that kind of thing. And to be honest with you, for a lot of people who are in the bush, they might not know what snake has bitten them.
Yes.
Definitely. What do you do if a snake bites you in the bush? What practically do you do? I mean, I know people used to say you tie something around it. Some people remember the old story, sucking the poison out.
Yeah.
But what do you do? What is the right thing to do?
So I actually found an old snake bite kit the other day. Well, someone gave it to me, and I was looking at it, and it said you must put a tourniquet on. It came with anti-venom. You inject yourself with that, and then you also cut and pour some crystals and.
Sounds more painful than the
bites.
bites.
No, I think you'll die from that. So yeah, you don't do that. If the snake bites you and disappears and you don't know what it is, it's not the end of the world. Doctors treat your symptoms, and from your symptoms they can also figure out what snake most likely bit you. If you can take a photo, it helps. But some people, they love to catch the snake or kill it, and like people walk into hospital with a bottle with a snake in it, and that's not good. That's when another bite's going to happen. So if you can take a picture, that helps. But otherwise, I mean, snake bite, really the most important and only thing to do is get to hospital as soon as possible. Can't waste time. If you're not sure, maybe the snake that bit you wasn't venomous, but don't sit around and wait, because then you're wasting precious time if it was a venomous snake. So it's all about getting to hospital as quickly as possible. Don't use a tourniquet, especially if the snake was like a puff adder and you put a tourniquet, it's just going to cause more damage. Try not to move with birders. I guess it's difficult, but if a car can come to you, rather, if possible, maybe with a friend with a car, the less movement the better, but that's always a bit tricky.
Some people also say you must try and relax. I know it's quite difficult with snakes, but you just close your bloodstream and that type of thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, relaxing helps, or like if your friend's been bitten, try and keep them calm. That's probably more helpful, because I got bitten by a snake once, a green mamba, and I panicked. So it's easy to say, but I think it would help if you got someone with you that calms you down. Yeah.
I think it's advice we're given before. I like going out birding by myself, but it is good as much as you can to have someone with you, just for that safety factor. If you get bitten by a puffy and you're up in Drakensberg walking around and you're by yourself, it's not great.
Yeah, I always keep a phone. I've got a friend that lives here. He always walks in the reserve with no phone, and it's better to have someone in case someone needs to run off to find help.
And then just the last question. Nick, you've achieved so much in your life. I mean, like we spoke about all the stuff you've done. What does the future look like for you? What plans do you have going forward in terms of yourself, and where do you see yourself 5 years, 10 years from now?
I don't know. I'm just focusing like now. COVID it's been really hard, because I make my living off educating people, and that's a bit more tricky. But next month it looks like we're doing a season 2 of our TV show, Snake Season. So it looks like we're going to start filming next month. I want to push for it to be on our first season to be online, but we'll see. And then I want to keep up with the education work, because I've seen so many times of why it's so important. So I just want to keep up with that. We've got ongoing research projects, like with black mambas. We're microchipping black mambas in certain valleys around Durban. That's just a lot going on, I guess. Just a lot. And we'll see. Yeah,
that's awesome. But what we'll do is, Nick, we'll post links to all your social media stuff, and encourage people, give Nick a follow. He posts a lot of informative stuff, some really cool videos, and I know that season 2 of the TV show will hopefully be coming up quite soon. But
Yeah.
you've done some amazing things. And I think, one thing about yourself is just shows, I'm sure when you were back in school, a lot of people, if you said where you're going to be now, they probably think you're pretty nuts, but you just followed your dream. And it's your story, I think, has inspired a lot of people. So just, not just the snakes, I think just you as a person. And I think just encouragement, just keep on going. It's awesome.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
We are proud to be working in association with Wildbooks to help get all the best birding resources into your hands at a great price. If you would like to support the Birding Life Project and the resources that we are putting out, please click on the link in either the comment section of this podcast or in our social media posts. Your support helps us to improve and hopefully make a bigger impact. Be sure to head over to our website, www.thebirdinglife.com, and check out all the exciting resources that we have on our website, including our exciting forum section to connect you with the world of birding, birders, and exciting birds out there. Do not forget to follow The Birding Life on Instagram and Facebook. We really appreciate everyone that takes the time to interact with these accounts. Be sure to check out Birdlasser and download the app on either iOS or Android, and keep a life list while playing your part in social conservation, as well as Swarovski Optic, one of the world's leading producers of binoculars, and spotting scopes. So until next time, be blessed and happy birding.